Commercial property dangers. I've actually been a massive advocate and continue to be an advocate of having commercial property in your real estate portfolio. When you consider commercial property, it plays such an important part, especially with regards to cash flows and even capital growth to some extent, from a more predictable sense of rental increases and things like that. But how about we use today's session to basically go play devil's advocate and say, what are the dangers of commercial property? So you can look at it from that angle, not to scare you off, but for you to start to learn more and be present around what the can't or what the dangers are, right? So with regards to commercial property, let's go through some of those things that can sometimes hold people back. One example, vacancy. So you might have someone that can really easily come into your residential property, roof above their head, and basically go, yeah, I'm here to live. Like, this is my home, need a roof above my head, somewhere to sleep, fairly common, right? Now, on the commercial front, not everyone might need that medical center. Not everyone might need that warehouse. Not everyone might need that, retail shop. Businesses are different, their requirements are different, and sure, in the residential, that's different as well, house, unit, townhouse. But from that perspective in commercial property, what you're really doing is you're closing it down to a less amount of people. Now, in Australia, another thing as well is there's a $1 trillion cap on commercial property, overall values. It's close to 7 trillion on residential property. So again, that reduces the size and the pool as well when you consider in that direction. The other part is lease incentives. You could go into a property, buy a commercial, looks great on the rental yield, but then all of a sudden there's a small short print clause in the lease that says 1 year rent free was provided. Now imagine what the tenant's expectations are if they have to re-sign a lease. They go into it thinking, oh, well, hey landlord, the other person provided me a year free, and that's why I was okay to pay this net yield of that rental amount. What are you going to do for me? So if that comes up, imagine how scary it is for you to go, I didn't know that. Like, I now need to give someone some similar offer, or I need to drop my income right down because that way I've tricked the lease over there, making it look like an 8 or 9% net, but really there was a 3-year lease paying the income in 2 years, and if you spread it out, it was less because they got a rent free. Maybe there's other little conditions in the lease that say, that landlords need to be responsible for some fit out and paying a certain fund towards that. I've seen some pretty intense stuff. So when you think about it, that lease due diligence is a very important part, as well as the first part I mentioned around vacancy. Now, what else is the dangers in commercial property? Specialist assets. So there are some places where specialist assets have performed amazingly. I'll take you through, car washes as an example. Largely, who are they available for? Who's the tenant? You guessed it, a car wash, right? A car wash business is probably likely the only business that could fit in that environment unless major shakeups are done, changes are made, and it's leased out to someone else, which can happen. But with a specialist asset, what's happening then is you might go and buy something, you're on your way to finance approvals, and as you look through it, the bank goes, yeah, we're only going to give you 50%. Wait, what? I saw your website, it said 70, 80. Oh no, because the place it's just too specialized, your tenant pool that was here is now coming to here, and that actually is very common. It has happened, for people. So imagine just by getting too specialized, you've A, reduced your tenant pool, and B, you've reduced your lending availability. So when things change, the banks can stronghold you to the margins they want and the interest rates they want. Because if they increase interest rates, who are you going to go to if only 2 or 3 banks are covering you for that property? The next part is with regards to your income verification. So with income verification, you might have a loan in the commercial front that considered everything. But then when you started to look at it and you then had a change in your income, or you wanted to get a better rate, and when you start moving it to the banks that constantly change the way they measure the income, you're stuck with the options that you have. Then from that perspective, instead of having more of a similar blanket approach where residential lending has very similar sort of borrowing structures, with some banks slightly better, some not so much. Imagine if you have something completely shut off under you. An example could be this. You take out a lease stock loan, you have lending based off your leases only, and then all of a sudden they change their policy and you now need to take it somewhere else, and you realize no one's doing that product anymore. Then when you do your full verification and full review of it all, what if you cannot service the loan now based on their full assessment? Where do you take this loan? Where do you take the property? What happens in that scenario? Things get pretty sticky. Other things could be around, the tenant, right? The tenant's business may shut down. They may end the lease before. Sure, you might have a 3-month bank guarantee or maybe something's there. But if you're in an area where industry-wise it's so ripe for disruption, or there's so much disruption happening, margins are getting tighter. For some it's the retail, but there's still many retail places performing quite well. But in those retail environments, if that shock happens over the next 10, 20, 30 years, how does that place your tenant's business if they don't adapt? How does it place the actual shape and the dwelling size, and who does it fit in this new business environment? So these are some of the many, but I wanted to really throw the dangers at you so when you are making a decision to invest in commercial property, and whilst it's a fantastic investment vehicle, something that I own personally, have helped many clients with, and have helped with significant amounts of lending in as well, just imagine, what the dangers could be so you know that knowing them, the best side and the decision for the best side of it is much more prepared and something that you're willing to take. That's it from us here at InvestorKit, the experts in wealth creation, helping you take action.